culturally relevant to me is Kishka because of my family's lineage as Eastern European farmers, more specifically Polish farmers. Um, and I like to eat it because it's a special treat that reminds me where my family came from. Kishka was a very important dish because it allowed farmers to use all the different parts of the animal while still making a tasty meal. Um, and I like it because it has a very unique taste, and I feel very lucky to be Polish American because I have more of an open mind to these foods just because when you hear blood sausage, duck blood soup, um, they're kind of off putting because we don't think of blood as an ingredient that we'd want to eat. Um, but I grew up eating it, although honestly, I didn't want to eat it when I was younger, but now that I know that there's nothing to be afraid of, I think I have a much more open mind to different foods. At least I hope I do. According to the recipe that came from the US Department of Agriculture, which seems to be more of a modern recipe because it doesn't add blood in it. Um, so the macro and micronutrients may be different from what my ancestors ate, even what you may buy at a butcher shop. Um, but most modern kishkas would be comprised of these ingredients. And of course, because they're made out of leftovers, you never know which amount of what foods you're going to get. Um, so kishka, according to the US Department of Agriculture, has 268 calories per serving, and this comes from 12.5 grams of protein, 21.43 grams of fat, 3.57 grams of carbs. And then for micronutrients that come from this sort of dish are 36 milligrams of calcium and 9.64 milligrams of iron. Um, but this recipe again did not include any blood, whereas my grandma's recipe and the one that my dad ate as a child did include blood as an ingredient. There may be more iron there. I wouldn't necessarily claim that this is healthy because of the high fat content as well as the high salt content. It has over 1,000 milligrams of salt per serving. So if you have this for breakfast with some canned peaches, you may be going quite overboard with the salt content that day. Um, but it could be used as a nice treat as a part of a balanced lifestyle. Um, my grandma used allspice, salt and pepper, leftover pig parts such as liver, snout, heart, pig intestine, and then she also used barley grits and pig's blood. My grandma said that she used a recipe from a cookbook, but because the different parts always changed every time, almost every kishka is going to be just a little bit different from another. Um, and she said that she had a bit of a disadvantage because she always used a cookbook. She never really tasted it as she went, she just measured. Um, so her kishka never ended up being quite as good as my great grandma's kishka or my dad's mom's kishka, um, because she would taste it during the frying portion and then change the ingredients as she went. So the cooking process typically entails frying up the meats and um, then adding it with the barley and the blood and then boiling it. So every part ends up being cooked and then freezing the leftovers because you're doing big batches during a butchering season, and then putting all of the leftovers in the freezer and then you'll bake them. So sometimes they'll end up being 3 different cooking parts. And another interesting fact about Kishka is that my great grandma gave her recipe to a local butcher, which is now a pretty big butcher in Wausau, and they sell a recipe, and my grandparents always buy it every year for my dad for Christmas, and he could never seem to put his finger on why he likes this particular Kishka so much. I think it has to do with my great grandma's recipe being used, and that just goes to show how many different ways there are to make Kishka, um, and it's really unique and creative dish. Why is this dish important to you?
It's a dish I grew up with. Um, we used to have it every other Sunday for a brunch, and I just like the flavor of it. And I'm used to it, like it, enjoy it.
How has your consumption of the dish changed throughout your life?
Well, it's only available in certain areas, so as I moved away from my parents, it didn't have it available, so I was eating it less. And as you get a little more health conscious, you also eat it less. So I've been eating definitely slowed down a lot since then.
How has your opinion of the dish changed throughout your lifetime?
Always like the flavor, still do. Like I said, don't eat as much because of the it's not what I would consider a healthy dish.
Um, how do you eat this dish now, and how often would you say you eat it now?
Usually I just have it around Christmas time, once a year, and it's usually um, you bake it in the oven and you have it with bread and canned fruit, peaches or pears.
Um, do you wish more people enjoyed this dish? Why
Um,
or why not?
well, I guess it really doesn't matter how many people enjoy it. I enjoy it, and that's I know it's a select it's a developed taste, so most people having it as an adult don't like it. It's something you usually have to grow up on. And, um, I can take it either way. If they like it, they like it. If they don't, they don't.
Well, thank you for your
Yeah.
time.
Yeah.